Heyo, Zion here. Today I'll be going over some Fakemon I designed for my own region. Fakemon I cover today will be based on several fantasy tropes, so expect some common appearances from fantasy media like knights, goblins, and rogues to be Pokemonified in this video according to my own take on the matter. First up, we have Colliny, a small little goblin that likes to steal stuff. It's based on the idea of little sprites and goblins that enter your home and rearrange your stuff, like when you misplace your keys or lose your phone. It also takes some inspiration from dust bunnies, lumps of dust people have often mistaken or characterized as little critters hiding under their furniture. Colliny's design has remained fairly consistent over time. Its first look made it seem more like a little teddy bear with a bit of a monkeyish motif. Its first redesign aimed to give it a bit more of a mischievous look, and it was that smugness I wanted to capture in its final look. In its latest take, I wanted to lean a bit more into the dust bunny aspect a bit more, giving it longer ears and longer legs that make it look a bit like a gerbil. Still pretty cute though, if you ask me. Colliny, the dusty Pokemon. Colliny will gather in cluttered places, moving things around to mess with the residents, relishing in their frustration. Due to its small size, it cannot carry objects much larger than itself on its own. This is why they gather in large groups. Once Colliny takes an item, whether by its abilities or with a move, it will evolve into Crooclepto, a larger, hairier, and more malevolent boggart, another household creature attributed to many misdeeds of mischief. The main gimmick behind Crooclepto has always been around held items. From having its ability change to its type changing depending on what item it holds, I opted for the latter, each item giving it a different second type as well as changing the type of its signature move. Imagine it'd be like a form of knockoff, a move that disables the use of the target's item. Crooclepto has been relatively the same since its inception, really just getting hairier with each rendition. Its first redesign took on some traits of a sumo wrestler since it spends most of its time hauling things around that don't quite belong to it. So I kept that motif, freshening it up a bit to match my more recent designs, fixing its proportions and giving it a steadier look to match the sumo-esque vibe I wanted for it. Crooclepto, the boggart Pokemon. Most clusters of Colliny are led by a Crooclepto who orders them what to do, orchestrating the mischievous acts they commit. When Colliny take on a task bigger than they can handle, Crooclepto will help, as it is capable of carrying objects several times its body weight. Now, as much as I personally detest mosquitoes and just their existence, I wanted to take an opportunity to showcase the sheer difference between female and male mosquitoes, so what better way than to play around with knights and bandits. So let's talk about Mosquire. Mosquire is a mosquito squire, a studious little bug that stands ready to learn and discover. Its original design was more focused on being a young mosquito. Had a little newsboy cap and wings that gave it a cutesy look despite being a bug type, which isn't forbidden, bugs can be cute too. Anyways, its redesign aimed to lean into the knightly thematic a bit more, taking from a parallel peasantry and squires from the Middle Ages. It's a simple yet effective design, I feel. So much so, I kept this look as its final design. Mosquire, the apprentice Pokemon. Mosquire are generally quite skittish and flee from threats when alone, but they're usually protected by at least one Bandito or Culciknight. Mosquire are often preyed upon by Yanma because of their tendency to flee rather than fight. Alright, the first of Mosquire's split evolution is Bandito. Now, when you think mosquito, I guarantee you think of the small insect that buzzes in your ear and takes your blood and gives you itchy bumps and... Again, I do not like mosquitoes, but it's just the female, oddly enough, that does all that. Bandito itself is based on a female criminal, a femme fatale type character, as well as your typical bandit or thief, that comes to take your stuff, or rather, your blood. Its first design focused primarily on it being evil and conniving, a bug out to get you, and not much else admittedly, just a mischievous bug out for blood. So to give it some personality, I took inspiration from, as I said earlier, the femme fatale trope, leaning into the covetous danger the trope likes to embody. Bandito, the rogue Pokemon. Bandito are very selfish, only looking to benefit themselves or the Mosquire they watch over. They have a strong rivalry with Culciknight, fighting over the Mosquire they watch over. Bandito are most active right before rainfall, swarming together to hunt larger prey. Now for the aforementioned knight, Culciknight, a knightly bug that defends the weak with honor and valor. In other words, everything Bandito isn't. Culciknight is based on a knight in shining armor, the honorable warrior that seeks to serve king and country as well as male mosquitoes. Culciknight's design journey has been much different from Bandito's. Rather than lacking character, it lacked cohesion. Its original design was inspired primarily by a knight in armor wearing a sword. While the idea worked, it kind of felt all over the place. It lacked enough bulk to acknowledge its decent defense and didn't express enough might with the two thin blades it wielded on its arms. So in its first redesign, I aimed to make it seem a bit more knightly and flashy. Like most animal species, males tend to be more vibrant and showy than females. And while this isn't really the case for mosquitoes, I figured it would make a bit more sense for an honorable knight. So I turned its proboscis into a fancy lance and its antennae into beautiful plumes. As nice as this design was, though, it was too closed off, too reserved for a showy knight, so in its latest take I bulked it up a bit more. Putting armor where it made sense for something that charges in head first, and giving it gloves somewhat akin to Lydian's hands. Culciknight, the gallant Pokemon. Culciknight fight to protect the weak, notably Mosquire. They have a rivalry with Bandito, showing their gallant ways to the Mosquire they protect. Culciknight will band together to take down their main predator, Yanmega. Next up, we have the Slimes, a very common appearance in fantasy media. So what better way to embrace the various ways a slime can appear than by a split Evo? Before we get into that though, let's talk about our first stage, Emime. Emime? I still haven't decided to pronounce it. Anyways, Emime here is obviously based on a slime, but to differentiate it from some appearances, I decided to give it a core that you can see in its mouth. Yes, that's its brain. This will be important later. Emime's design was a bit more basic. A blob with eyes that made it look like it doesn't have a single thought behind those empty eyes. Something I kept because slimes are usually depicted as brainless monsters. But it was just awkward to me, a bit too devoid of sense, and the two orbs it wielded, while they were used well for its evolutions, didn't serve much purpose, and I wanted to do something a bit more interesting with them going forwards. Emime, the mimic Pokemon. Emime have tough bodies, but weak emotions. Even the slightest attack will cause it to throw a fit, whether or not it did any damage. Emime will often mimic the emotions and expressions of others it sees, slowly growing in its emotional intelligence. Alright, next is Emogoo and its two variants. This evolution works similarly to Toxtricity. No, that's wrong. Toxtricity. There. Its evolution is predetermined by its nature as a mime. Calmer natures will get you a chill-willed Emogoo, and more aggressive and energetic natures net an ill-willed Emogoo. Chill Emogoo is based mostly on the idea of letting loose, its melted look leaning into this idea. As for the floating core, yes, again, that is its brain. This Emogoo has let loose, separating mind from body to enhance its psychic ability. As for ill-willed Emogoo, its core is ingrained into its body, letting it fortify itself by tensing its slimy form when it goes to strike or when it anticipates a hit. It takes on the idea of a vein popping on someone's head as a visible sign of anger, as well as the look of a beat-up boxer. As for their old designs, I drew heavily from these when redesigning them. Both were executed well and captured what I wanted from these designs. I just felt like I could have explored the true vastness of how many different slimes there are out there. And as fun as making one design for all 25 natures would be, I'd rather not. Chill-willed Emogoo, the emotion Pokemon. After growing in its calmer emotions, Emime will mellow out, becoming calm and reserved when it evolves into Emogoo. A calm Emogoo will fight using psychic pulses from its core, barely moving its loose body in a constant state of calm stupor. Ill-willed Emogoo, the emotion Pokemon. An ill-willed Emogoo is a very aggressive Pokemon, striking anything that gets too close. Its body is made of extremely dense goo, lacking any vital organs. The indestructible core on its face is thought to be its brain, which it guards intensely. Okay, that'll be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for sticking to the end. Be sure to leave a comment letting me know what you think, and I know I don't ask this much, but feel free to subscribe and like the video. Gives me brownie points for this whole algorithm thingy. Anywho, stay blessed, and see ya. Woo!